Back to our Laurel Burch project, I wanted to show you some of the things that are in her studio. Her daughter actually keeps her studio going and produces her artwork into different things that you can buy. I have one of her bags that I use for my computer. The dogs, one, I love dogs. So you can see that it's a lot like the cat. Face is a little different. Obviously, the ears are different, but it's the same concept. Okay, if you want to see this up here, I do have it. Also, something else is I dug this up, and this is a brooch from the 80s. So this is vintage and tribal design. It is obviously people. So if you would like to see this, I also have this up here. It has her signature on the back and everything. So it's Tribe. So you're more than welcome to come up and take a look at this. So we have that. All right. So I have my design completed. Everything on here. Very simple shapes. We have circles, we have triangles, we have flowers, we have a unicorn, just very simple shapes. So some of the things that you're going to be using, one, watercolor pencils. Now, I do have the little containers up here. You even might have these in your bag. Make sure that you do take a look and make sure it says watercolor on the side, because there are, if you don't read, you may be grabbing a color pencil. Okay, there's a big difference. So please make sure that you're using watercolor. It says it right on the side. All right, I don't know how else to make this clear. So you have the option of watercolor pencils. We have the watercolor palettes, the little templates, the pans, I guess you'd call it. I will tell you that yellow is usually very, very dirty because people do not listen how I explained how to use these. So if there's no yellow or your yellow's dirty, I'm sorry. You'll have to go another route. But we'll talk about using those. We're also going to be using, this is concentrated. All right, so it will wash out in most fabrics. It will wash off your hands, but it usually takes 2 to 3 washings. It's really, really concentrated. And you will have to shake it up because it does settle. So hold the cap and then shake it up. Okay, see how that's dissolved. And then we're going to have little containers for people to use. You could pretty much tell what colors go where. So all you have to do is unscrew it. Don't take that off. Flip the cap. This says it's yellow. So you're going, and you can tell, you probably can't. This is really, really thick. All right, that's what happens when things are concentrated. All right. So what we're going to do, of course, I've already got some splash on my picture. If it splashes, don't worry about it. Okay, so one, I am going to do salt. So if you remember when we did those 8 different techniques, one of them was salt. And I'm going to do salt on the background. So I'm going to cover that up, and I'm going to do, and remember it's watercolor, it's not color water. So you're going to take the color, and it's going to be transparent. Okay, the more color that you grab, the darker it's going to be. But this is not like acrylic where it's really thick. Okay, get a section done, and you can come back and put more water on it. And then I'm going to go ahead while this is still wet. Don't get it too wet so that the water spills over, because then all you're going to have to do to save it is get some paper towel and spread over it. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of salt and I'm going to sprinkle it on. Now, even though this is wet, you can still go ahead and work on other sections. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this little background. Just adding my water. And I think I'm going to take this more towards a purple. Now just remember, when this dries, it's actually going to be lighter in color. So adding more pigment to it is just going to make it darker. That's what you're wanting. And then you'll also notice that as your paper gets wetter, it's going to warp. That's why we have it taped down, so it doesn't go too crazy on you. All right, so while that's drying, I'm going to move on to another area. So I'm going to use I think I'm going to use my watercolor pencil on my little triangles. And I know I have 2 triangles in here, but I'm going to make that middle one really, really dark. So I'm just going to go ahead and color these all pink. And then I'm going to take a wet paintbrush. And don't forget, you can dump your water out as many times as you need, because clean water with watercolor is very, very important. Okay, so if your watercolor is black, I highly suggest getting up and changing that. Okay, can you see how that watercolor just kind of blended out? And those are the splashes from the yellow, and I'm not going to worry about that right now. Okay, so, and then with the concentrate, where I'm going to show you what it looks like when it goes dark. This stuff is really, really thick. Now you can use it like this because the color is very, very bright. So if you want to use it like that, that's fine. Or you can add water to it, especially with the darker ones. I think that like with the purples and stuff, you may want to either use the semi-moist or the watercolor pencils. The darker concentrate, you're probably going to want to hold off on those because I think it's going to be too dark. But I think the yellow is going to work really, really well because it looks much better than this. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is get all your colors on, all your paint on first. Okay, and then what we're going to do is come back with our markers and do some detailing after the watercolor dries. Okay, and just do your best as far as trying to stay in your lines. I do have smaller paint brushes. You are going to have to return those to me. I do have other classes that are using those. So, yeah, once you have to have all your patterns and everything on there before you get started. And if you do just want solid color like this, my little border that I have right here is just going to be a solid dark color. Mainly because I'm going to be doing metallic dots around it. But that's it, guys. So I'm going to be working on mine along with you so we can see how these are going to look. I do suggest colored pencils, the watercolor pencils in the small areas. I think I just make it much easier for you to work with. Okay, so that is it. So if you guys have questions, please let me know. But I'm thinking maybe next week we'll probably get started with this once everybody has their designs and everything going.